Okay.
All right, welcome everybody to Purveyors of Health. We have some special guests today. Usually we have one guest each week, one special guest each week, but today we have the dynamic duo, the health team from the Great White North in Toronto. We have Michael Siddall, the abundant yogi, and health coach Julie Brar, two of my favorite people, also working in the superfood world with organic superfood nutrition, and both into yoga and teaching and practicing yoga. So how's it going, guys? What's going on?
It's going good, but I should correct you. I'm a holistic nutritionist / health coach.
Okay, so I'm off there, but close enough. I'll do better next.
I'm the only one teaching yoga. But
Yeah,
there we go.
I don't teach anymore. I just practice.
All right, should we start recording from the beginning? Let me. I totally made a huge egg all over my face.
No.
Or
The problem
egg.
with me is I keep getting certifications.
Oh my God, too funny.
So yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance, go vote for Julie. She's running for again, as this is your repeat as the best in your area.
Yeah.
Health coach.
Well, I have 3 nominations, 3 different categories. One is holistic health, then it's nutritional services, and then it's weight control services, which I think is a terrible name for a category.
Yeah, that's weird.
You go to my Instagram, and in my link tree, I have each of the 3 categories listed out, and all you got to do is click and hit the green button and wait till you get a check mark. So easy.
You got my votes.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you guys met each other, what's your health journeys all about, and just kind of a little bit about you, whatever you want to share, just tell us a little bit about the Siddall Brar combo and how it's been leading you to this point in your life.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I left the corporate world 30 some odd years ago. I was an account director in the advertising business, become a full-time yoga teacher. I've been studying for years and continue to study. In fact, that's what I've been doing predominantly since the pandemic has hit. And Julie,
you don't have to speak for me.
No, okay. So here's how I'm going to tell the story this way. Julie came up on my feed one day and on Facebook, and I thought, oh, there's somebody I'd really like to meet. And I'd actually I'd never reached out to anybody in that way. Like there's just something about her picture that really spoke to me. So I reached out. She agreed to connect because we had some people in common, which even I didn't know at the time. And long story short, as it turns out, Julie had come to my yoga class several years before.
I'd say probably like 7 or 8 years earlier.
Several years before. Where'd you go now?
Just keep talking.
No, I want to see people. What are you doing?
Julie's going to share the link for you guys if you want to vote for her.
So apparently Julie had come to my yoga class several times. In fact, we'd gone out for coffee after yoga class. And to this day, I have no recollection of that whatsoever. So anyway, I reached out. She was doing a one-woman show in Toronto. I went a couple of times. Turned out we had a bunch of people in common. One of them was her acting coach, my ex-girlfriend acting coach. So
we don't need to get into the minutia of your dating world.
There were some things that we had in common.
Yeah, we do. That's going to get more views.
No.
And that was it. We sort of took off from there, really. I mean, that's the short version of the story. Yes. Do you want to add anything?
What was the other question, Angelo?
What's your take, Julie, on this whole thing here?
Well, I just find it hilarious that he does not remember me going to his yoga class on 2 Friday mornings, 10 a.m. slot, 2 Fridays in a row with a mutual yoga teacher friend, and the 3 of us having coffee together. afterwards.
I'm still baffled by it because, I mean, she's clearly a beautiful woman, and a beautiful woman inside and out.
And he's clearly blind.
Yeah, still to this day, I don't remember it at all.
Well, what's really hilarious is shortly after that yoga class meeting that he does not recall, this would have been maybe 2006, I moved out to Vancouver because both of us were in other relationships. I moved out to Vancouver. I was teaching yoga in Vancouver, yoga and acting. And I would always have students come to Toronto on business, and they would ask me, who should I go practice with? And I would say, you should definitely go look up this guy, Michael Siddall. He's an amazing teacher. Little did I know, Buddy didn't know me from a hole in the ground, because years later, he discovered me on Facebook through mutual friends. So how about them apples?
Yeah, it was sort of kind of interesting. And then it turned out we knew a lot of people in common.
Yeah, we have a lot of yoga and film people in common, because he used to act. I still have a union card. I still have an agent, and I still go to auditions. So we have a lot of film people in common and a lot of yoga people in common. So
that's how that all came about. What can I say? Okay, there we go.
That's too cute.
Just too cute. I know. It was an interesting conversation at point because Julie, when I originally started dating Julie, she thought, because I was in the process of helping a large Vancouver company open a big studio in Toronto, she thought I was dating her to get information about the company because she used to teach for them. And I had no idea she taught for them at the time. So she thought I was on this kind of spy mission, which wasn't the case at all. And anyway, it was,
needless to say,
there were a bunch of things going on. The irony of it was, it proverbially got to that point where I kind of really expressed how I felt. And next day I got that call that every guy has had in his whole life, where the woman goes, I just don't know if I'm ready for this or in this place. And I said, well, this is how I feel. And basically, long story short, after the conversation, we've been seeing each other. We've been together ever since.
Years later, I'm still not sure if I'm into this, but here we are.
Oh,
3 dogs, a house, and a business later. Well, I don't know. Eventually, we will figure it out.
Yeah, something like that. Probably very different from Rolana's family story, I would imagine.
So, anyway.
Anyway.
But yes, it was Michael's fault that we're in Purium.
Oh, are we jumping into Purium right away?
This is to hide the fact that you're in a Purium so that people will kind of like, well, what's Purium? Yeah. So tell us about that. So you guys have been together as the dynamic duo for how many years now?
How many years, Michael?
Oh, I knew. Why are you asking these questions, Angelo? Like these are questions you don't ask a guy when his partner's sitting right next to him. Okay.
When's my birthday?
8 years?
Almost 8 years.
Okay, clear.
Yeah.
See? 7.5.
No, it'll be 8 years September.
There we go. I got the right answer. Well, what was your question? What are we doing? We've been doing a lot of things. So when we got together, I was working, we were living in downtown Toronto. We renovated my house completely from the bone up, which was Julie. She did a phenomenal job with that. Toronto was becoming very congested, so we moved out. At that point, Julie ventured back into teaching. I helped to get her some positions in different places. We then renovated the beautiful place we live in now. And now we're looking at moving to the country. So that's the moving part. So prior to pandemic, I was reaching out, looking for some people. I was connected to Raw on Instagram. I thought it was really interesting. I was captivated by some of the stuff that he was doing, which was very much related to what I was doing within the yoga world, sort of his esoteric side, and then the stuff he was doing in the spiritual realm. And so I reached out, and part of what he was putting out there in a very mild way at the time, because this would be 2 years ago, I would guess, right? About 2 years ago. Purium kept coming up. So I said, "Hey, what's this
We're not
about?"
supposed to use that
actually,
word.
oh well, I reached out and asked him, and I approached him and I said, "Hey, I'd like to be part of this." So he sent me some stuff, and I'm one of his brand partners. And then we started. Julie was not at the time too keen to.
May I speak for myself?
Oh, Julie's
Yes.
going to jump in.
Yeah. So I was not keen for a few reasons. I was like, oh no, another one of these. I can't. I refuse. But I had been, by this point in time, I was certified in nutrition and health coaching, and I had actually been doing research on autoimmune conditions and gut health. And I myself live with an autoimmune condition. And so I was curious about some of the superfoods that were in the line. So that's why I agreed to actually have a meeting. And yeah, Michael, when he originally wanted to do something like, he wanted to do a 10-day. And I was like, no. We had the meeting. And then I was like, no, F the 10-day. If we're going to test this, let's do a 40-day.
Well, it was a 40-day at the time.
Yeah,
right?
back then it was
a 40-day.
Yeah, it was stretched over 40 days, and then they changed it. So now it's the 30-day, which makes a lot more sense. But yeah, we did a 40-day and I really liked it. And I was like, okay, yeah.
But you still weren't keen entirely.
I wasn't keen, but I could see the potential for my business and the types of people that I work with and what people are coming to me for.
Yeah, and I started, and I was really fortunate that when I started, we weren't in pandemic. I was teaching full time, so I was seeing people every day, and I hit fast start quite quickly because, honestly, a lot of my students just went, "Hey, I trust them. Let's give it a shot," that kind of thing. And then we ran into a little glitch with FedEx and Customs, which pretty well 99% of the people in this company don't know about. Suffice it to say, it was a very complicated thing that really the business went into pretty well stopped for 2 months. And so I'm not going to get into the issues with that. But myself, Michael Mazies, and some people at Purium fixed that situation, and we moved on. What?
You're supposed to not say the word.
Why are we not allowed to say the word?
Because
You can say Purium.
you're supposed to, it's about curiosity.
Oh, well, that company.
Is there anyone here that's not doing Purium?
Everybody
here.
No, but you're on Facebook, so.
Oh, right. So.
Oh, okay. For those people who are watching on Facebook, disregard everything I've said.
Anyway, Michael's not much for discretion.
Ooh.
Well, I already said to you 3 times.
So you guys are both hit diamond in the company as together. You're on separate technical teams. I mean, separate businesses, right? You're each. You're not a lot of people are as a couple are like one sort of business, right? And you guys are 2 separate businesses. Michael, you're Julie's upline in the company. So
yeah, I should clarify that though, because we're only allowed to do that because we're not married. Okay. If you were married, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
He gave me one of these, but he refuses to marry me.
So what happens if you get married? Does you go back to consultant?
No, because then you're grandfathered in. She's still a brand partner, has her own team. But in theory, if you're a married couple, only one of you can only act as one unit, not 2 separate businesses.
Let's just say he's not going to marry me, so there's no fear of that.
Why, you won't want him to, or he doesn't want to?
He doesn't want to.
What are you talking about? Oh my God, where is this going to?
I've asked you, and
we've both been married before. She's got a beautiful ring to symbolize everything. There's no need to go through all the rigmarole.
Michael, Julie, look at each other right now.
By the
look
power
in each other's eyes. Look in each other's eyes and repeat after me.
Yeah,
I don't know if a Zoom/Facebook marriage counts.
Yeah.
I'm no justice of the peace, but we can.
Oh boy.
I have a friend who is a justice.
Anyway, so yeah, we work 2 separate businesses, and we have 2 separate sets of skills that work out really well because Julie's very good at a lot of things that I'm not. And so we have a different skill level. And it helps with working with the brand partners and people on our team. We get two different kind of takes and approaches with them, which I think is to our advantage in that sense.
Yeah.
We did have a discussion at one point, wondering if it would be better or easier to merge as one unit, but we think that this is the way to go long term.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that we run the business is we both talk to
Everybody,
right?
Yeah.
So I think probably our brand partners don't know who's placed under who. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we work with everybody from the top all the way down through our team. One of my scenarios or beliefs in this is don't leave anybody behind. Yes, some people are going to be more active than others, but keep in contact with everybody who's on your team. They're all people. They all deserve a certain amount of integrity and honesty and faith, because you never know when they could turn on. And it's happened that way. There's been people who've been very busy and fallen off. There's been people who weren't busy and come on. And I just think that you need to continually be engaged with every member of your team and show them that you care, because ultimately this is a business of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are some of your philosophies surrounding health, you guys? I know you're both vegan, plant-based. Was that how you guys?
Vegan AF would be a more accurate description, but sure.
Militant vegans, okay.
No, we're not
dogmatic.
We're not dogmatic.
I'm joking. So tell me.
Pardon the pun.
Tell me some of your like pillars of health, some of your philosophies around health.
Well, I think number one is that the body, it's funny because I did a 14-day water fast back in April, and I actually interviewed Dr. Alan Goldhammer today for my wellness show. And I mean, the body has the ability to heal itself when it's given the proper tools. But we live in a society and an environment that actually makes it really challenging for people to choose what is best for them. And most people are actually not even given the proper information. So, the body is a self-healing organism, and it has to do with our diet, our lifestyle, sleep, exercise, mindset. If you can put all those pillars in place, then your body will function well and heal, and you'll thrive. But unfortunately, most people live in an environment where they're told since they're little babies and little kids to overindulge in food. No, they're not really taught much about exercise. And I mean, 60% of the American diet is made up of processed foods. The number might actually be really, really high. It's much higher, I think. And then, in terms of fruits and veggies, the most eaten veggie in America is potatoes, but in the form of French fries. So not even the real potato, right? So that's what we're dealing with, and trying to convince people that the secret to health is at the end of their fork. Like that's an ongoing daily mission, but I get messages daily. Like I got a message today from a woman who unfortunately ended up in the emergency room because she thought she was having a heart attack. And fortunately she wasn't. And her doctors told her to get off meat. Although her doctor thought that maybe dairy was okay. Turns out her blood pressure was through the roof. And she's been now plant-based for a couple of weeks. Blood pressure's come down considerably. And she's off dairy too, because, but these are diet and lifestyle diseases.
I probably come at it from a slightly different point of view. I mean, not that I agree with everything that Julie's saying, but because my perspective as a yoga teacher, practitioner of spirit, and I want to preface this by saying, I wasn't always like this. As Angelo and I have discussed, we've both been on the other side of the fence in terms of, different things we've consumed or ingested or put in our bodies. But in terms of really connecting to yourself. And by that, I mean that consciousness that is you, that is us, that's all pervading, that is connecting each and every one of us, to really have the best opportunity to access that. One needs to have a physical state of being that is more than relatively healthy. And the healthier you can maintain this unit that's connecting, that's containing the spirit, this consciousness, this life force, the more likely your experience of connecting with your true sense of self will come to fruition. So that's kind of where I come from it. I mean, I think that the whole processed food things, it's amazing to look at this from, the span of my lifetime and how things have changed dramatically in a very, what I would consider a short period of time. But, from the time when I was a teenager, you were still eating pretty well real food. The whole fast food chain thing hadn't really started. It had just began when I was a teenager. And it just moved deeper and deeper into things being processed. And then you move into the issue of how they spray foods and how they do this and how they do that. I mean, which is all going back to anything nefarious, Vietnam War, whatever. And I also hold this because I was in the marketing, I was an account director in the advertising business. So this concept that we have fooled ourselves with, like, health food stores are really a healthy place. Health food stores are equally as unhealthy as any other food store out there, if not more so, because by and large, most of the stuff in health food store is processed. Right? If one thing, and speaking as a vegan, if one thinks they're going to be a healthy vegan by eating, veggie burgers and veggie dogs and, fake bologna or fake this or fake that, they need to wake up, because it's just as bad as eating any other processed food. It's still processed. It's still filled with sodium and all sorts of stuff. So, we as human beings have a tremendous capacity to fool ourselves or rationalize our way out of something that we perceive as uncomfortable. And quite frankly, the irony of that is being healthy is uncomfortable for many people now. And they don't even understand that that's uncomfortable for them. That being healthy is something so foreign to them, they don't get it. Everybody who's on this meeting is part of what we do. And how many people do you come across every day in your journey of people going, yeah, I really want to get healthy, but they don't want to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. Right? And part of that's a fear, or part of that is that veil it has put up. They don't even know the difference anymore. And that's the scary part.
Well, I think the thing is, people are so addicted to certain foods and certain stimulants in their diet and in their environment that they're not willing to go through that initial discomfort of detoxing off of those things. And it is very, very uncomfortable. But once you get past the detox and your body adjusts to eating real plant foods, then you stop craving the other garbage. But getting off of sugar and caffeine and alcohol is like trying to get off of any drug. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that initial heavy lifting. They're too scared. They would rather stay in an unhealthy body that they're not happy with than step into the unknown. And that's really what we're asking when we're asking people to be healthy and to get curious. It's really stepping into something maybe they may never have experienced. Like, there's so many people I talk to that tell me that they had this illness or that illness since they were a kid, and they don't remember feeling good in their body. And so how can they know what health is when they've never experienced it? They literally have to take our word for it and be willing to go on the journey. And to what Michael was saying in terms of the spiritual side, because I also come from a yoga background. And I mean, I think some of this stuff I'm putting out there little by little on social media, which is that all of us are gifted with this one divine vessel, our human body. And most of us commit horrible crimes against it. And we neglect it, we abuse it, we just completely denigrate it. And then we're surprised, oh my God, I don't feel good. Oh my God, I have this illness or that illness, or My brain's not functioning well, I'm depressed. And it's all because of what we're putting into the system, not even in terms of food, yes, but also what we're ingesting through what we might be listening to, what we might be watching, the circle we might surround ourselves with. This all has to do with our health and well-being, everything, all of those inputs. Those are things that if you want to get healthy, you have to look at what are you inputting into your system.
And the problem that we face, and I'll use a yoga analogy, is, so I've been a professional yoga teacher full-time for over 30 years. And if I look at where the yoga, I hate to use this word, but market is these days, you have some really, really good teachers out there, really well-trained teachers, but you have a billion mediocre teachers as well. And it used to really bother me, right? It used to really bother me because I thought, these people aren't trained well, they don't know, they haven't spent the time or the effort, whatever. And I realized it's not their fault. That's what they were trained at. And it's now not just one generation. This is 3 or 4 generations of yoga teachers, right? So this is the same problem you have nutritionally. You have not just one generation of people who don't know the difference between good nutrition, poor nutrition, and good nutrition. You have generations of generations of generations who have no idea the difference. So you're really fighting quite a significant and interesting uphill battle of re-education, right? Where, if I could take any yoga teacher out of a group of 100 and go, hey, tell me what yogaha chittavritti nirodha means. And 99.9 of them would look at me with a blank face and go, I have no idea what you're talking about. And yet, that is the sutra that defines yoga, that anybody who is a yoga teacher should know like the back of their hand. Now, it's not their fault that they don't know because they're not being taught. Same thing with nutrition. If people aren't being taught the difference between what's good nutrition and poor nutrition, you can't blame them, right? You can't hold this there and go, it's their fault. But those of us who are in this position have an opportunity to start a fairly lengthy re-education process.
And it is really about re-education, because I even come across people who do what I do and they're promoting, they're like, I saw a post the other day, somebody was saying, oh, well, have honey. It's a better sugar. Guess what? On a biochemical level, your body doesn't know a better sugar. It treats all sugar, all 64 different types of sugar, as sugar in your body, which means it damages your health. And yet here is somebody who's calling themselves a gut health specialist, promoting this BS, and sugar is one of the worst things that you can put into your body in terms of your gut health. And how do I, as a professional, educate these people, this person, and share this information with them so that they're not going out and unknowingly harming people? And I'm thinking to myself, where did this person get educated? Like, how do they think that there is a good sugar versus a bad sugar, right? The only sugar that is okay is fructose when it's bound with the whole fruit. And even fructose, if you remove the fruit fiber and you just go to a health food store and you can buy the isolated fruit sugar called fructose, if you're using that to make whatever you're making, guess what? Now you're just using sugar and you're spiking your insulin levels and you're harming your body, right? The only reason that fruit is okay is because the fiber in fruit slows down the release of the fructose. So it doesn't spike your insulin levels to that extent. But then I think that a lot of people don't understand how their body actually works and how these inputs are affecting them on a biochemical level. And so they just kind of go, oh, whatever, right? It's like things get a pass because they don't know. Then here's the crazy thing. They don't know what they don't know, but then they're sharing this information out there like it's gospel.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's, like you said that, and I think something I saw you post before, Julie, about all the different disguises that the sugar takes the form of, like maltodextrin, dextrose, sucrose, all these different things. So I think that's good to be aware of. Definitely. I do eat a lot of fruit. Sometimes I wonder if I eat too much. But I also was a vegan for almost 20 years. Besides honey, I did eat a little bit of honey. So, sorry. But I'm mostly plant-based these days. I'm not dogmatic about anything in my diet. And I started off for ethical purposes, being a vegan, because I was very militant, or whatever you want to call it, about veganism. I would like everybody that's not a vegan. But then I learned real quick that you don't have a lot of friends if that's the case, because most people aren't vegan. So became more accepting and just, standing up for my own beliefs. And, when someone would take an order from you, this is probably back in the 90s, you'd order something and they would look at you sideways like, what? Like, what's that? Like, and you have to explain, and you feel like it's this process over and over again of like, I'm a vegan, I have to do, and this is what I do. And they were like, what? How do you get your proteins?
But we're no longer in that space. And I think the discussion, I know Julie probably is going to have a little more dogmatic point of view on this, but the reality is, if people are just making appropriate choices with what they're putting in their mouth in general, okay, and not putting any category to it, they're going to be a lot better off. But most people aren't discerning. And this again goes back to, one of the aspects of a yoga practice, one of the key aspects of a yoga practice is developing a discerning mind, right? Where you start to at least have the ability to discern, one, are you fooling yourself? Two, are you being fooled? Is what you think the truth actually truth? Or is it something that's not the truth? Right? There's the second sutra, the Kashmiri Shaivite Shiva Sutras, is Yanaha Bandhaha, and it means literally this: what you know is equally as much of a problem as what you don't know, because what you think you think is true, but it may not be true. What's coming out of my mouth even today for all of you is simply my story, right? And that's what we have to recognize. It's just my story. Some of it can be proven scientifically. That becomes an empirical scenario where that becomes truth. Some of it was taught to me by my parents. Some of it was told to me by my friends. That does not necessarily mean it's true, right? Mm-hmm. It's just my experience.
Well, I think since we're all in the superfoods world, I have many, many times across my because I've studied like at least 2 or 3 different places in terms of nutrition. The fact of the matter is that the standard American diet, full of processed foods, processed sugar, meat and dairy and alcohol and coffee and all of those things, is very acidic. And we know that an acidic environment in the body invites disease. So you need to make your body more alkaline. How do you make your body more alkaline? With lots and lots of plants. Tons and tons of plants, green plants. So these are things that we know. These are things that can be measured. These are, like, I know people out there who have done their own research with real humans and taken them from one diet and put them on other diet and seen their diseases reverse. Right. And so that's not up for debate. That's just what happens. Now, people can find all kinds of fancy ways to try and get around it, to try and justify whatever choices they're making because that feels comfortable to them. But there are some things that are just very toxic and acidic in the body and create disease, and there are things that don't. So,
and let's say everybody in this call is associated with this company that produces some of the, well, quite frankly, the finest superfoods on the planet, which are creating an alkaline environment within the body. They're doing actually all the things we're talking about.
And even when someone is doing the transformation and they're following the transformation to a T, which would be also getting rid of all the animal products, what are they doing? They're creating an alkaline environment in their body. That's what they're doing. They're leaning towards the side of alkalinity. And that's what creates the transformation within them. And I know a lot of people get super hung up on protein. Protein is not the be all and the end all when it comes to nutrients. But if anytime anyone asks me about my protein, I go, I take Super Aminos 23. I don't worry about my protein. Because Super Aminos 23 is absorbed 99%. Why would I sweat over what I'm eating when I've got Super Aminos? There's no need to. So, yeah.
Anybody got any questions?
Did we lose Angelo?
No, I'm just gonna grab some super amino 23s right now. I'm just got my lunch right here. 5 little.
You know, everybody on this call is working for a company that's not trying, because that's the other thing. Never say you're going to try, because it means you're failing, doing. So this company is out there doing and on a mission to make this planet a better place. Now, a healthier place. And look at the situation that we've all been experiencing over the last 2 years in the pandemic. If you take a look at this planet is sick. This planet's immune system is compromised. We, as a human race, have compromised this planet's immune system. So it's no surprise that everybody who lives on this planet, his immune system is compromised as well, right? So we live in a toxic society. We live in a situation where we're on the brink of a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's
called a system collapse.
It's a challenging time, to say the least. So what can you do, or what can we do almost to the bare minimum, to some extent, about at least doing something that's going to offset all this toxicity, right? So, some of them are what you put in your mouth. Okay, so no matter what diet you have, as long as you're infusing yourself with these other foods that are going to hopefully rebalance you if you're doing them on a regular basis, great. We're trying to get rid of plastics. Okay, and we shouldn't be the only one. Everybody on this planet should be trying to eliminate plastics, right? Every other company. Plastic, excuse me. It's not just this. But how many of you every day see a situation, that you come across every single day of your life and go, I can't believe this shit's still happening, right? I can't believe people are still doing this when the evidence is so compelling, And so this is the interesting thing about the human race. We're great followers, and most of us are not great doers.
Don't ever underestimate the stupidity of the collective human, because really it does not surprise me, especially when you have great tools of propaganda or mass influence like the television. I mean, before the television, there was also great forms of propaganda, or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to call it propaganda, but things that can massively influence large numbers of people.
Well, I'll go back historically even further. Okay, so has anybody read the Gita? Krishna, Arjuna, that kind of thing is a very profound spiritual text. So Arjuna, who is Krishna, who is representing consciousness, what he's trying to explain to Arjuna is that I'm consciousness, and if you accept that you are me and you are consciousness, your problems will not be the same. You'll be able to overcome. So one of the famous lines in the Gita, and I'm paraphrasing here, is, of 100,000 of you, he's saying to Arjuna, only of 100,000, only 10,000 of you are going to get the message. So basically he's saying 10% of you are going to understand about moving into the light. 10% of you are going to understand about making a difference. 10% of you are going to move forward and take action. I'm not sure that the percentage in human race has changed all that much. I think we live in a society where 90% of the people follow and 10% of the people try to do something about it.
Well, I think maybe a lot of people that are alive today would not be alive in a different time, right? Because we have a healthcare system that keeps people alive, whether that's a sick
care system,
a sick care, death care system,
don't forget,
whatever. But
we have one that takes care of people for free.
We have a medical system that keeps people alive on pharmaceuticals. I mean, we're not talking about quality of life. We're just talking about the heart's beating and the lungs are working or whatever, and they're there in some capacity. So we have that going on now. And right now is a large focus on being safe, right? Being safe and not getting sick and doing all these things like getting vaccinated.
It's so funny because the thing that I haven't seen anybody really mention in terms of the people who do press conferences on health on behalf of the government is nobody really talks about
health,
helping people to get healthy so that whatever is coming at them, their body can protect itself, right? We have this wonderful thing called the immune system where like 70 to 80% of it lives in our gut. And so if we just took care of our gut health, by default, we take care of our immune health. And there's always going to be bacteria and viruses and things in the environment that are going to be a potential threat. And so the solution isn't, I don't think, to get a vaccine for every little thing out there, but it is about getting, fortifying your system through a number of different avenues. Obviously, nutrition is one of them, but even something as basic as sleep, right? Like most Americans, the average American sleeps 5.5 hours a night. And that is a disaster. That is a disaster when it comes to gut health, immune health, managing stress levels, the whole thing. And it comes down to having an awareness and then starting to implement those things to move you towards health.
You know, I think there's an irony to the situation that we've been in. Julie alluded to it briefly. In this whole time, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, in this whole time this pandemic has been going on, there's not one country in the world, not one country in the world has made an official announcement, come out and told their citizens, guess what? Here's some of the things that you could do as well. Eat well, get out in the sunshine, take some vitamin D, take some vitamin C, watch what you put in your mouth. Not one country around the world has done that yet. So, well, yet we're moving to the
Well,
other
they
side.
killed the one dude who said that.
Yeah, okay. So
right? Didn't they kill that guy who said that he was, I forget.
Okay, so the other thing is that, you know, I mean, it's very easy to jump on the medical community. Let's face it, the medical community has made some phenomenal strides in helping people with certain things. Their thing is about dealing with something that's already happened, not preventative medicine. We all know that, right? And then, you know, really the lesson about all of this is it goes back to the planet again. We are a being of nature. We are a being of nature living in a planet that is natural. And for us to be healthy, we need to get back to nature as much as we possibly can. And the way we eat, right? And what we do physically, in breathing the air that we breathe, drinking the water we drink, and so forth. It really is not all that complicated to some extent, right? Mm-hmm. It's quite simple. But the easier choice is to, hey, get in your car, go to McDonald's, and, you know, take everybody with you.
But isn't there a line that can't be drawn between us and nature, because we are nature? All of this crazy shit that we are a part of, plastics, whatever you want to, whatever it is, that's nature, because we are nature and everything came from something that is nature. So even pollution, even like vaccines, whatever it is, it's all nature, right?
Well, what I think you're taking it in a way that, I'll use this analogy. It's not nature once you've processed it. Just like food is not food once you've processed it.
What about a bee processing honey, though? Is that not nature?
Pardon me?
What about like a bee processing honey? Is that no longer nature too? Or is it just because we're humans and we separate ourselves?
No, I'm saying if you're eating honey the way it is, okay, and I'm speaking not as a vegan, okay, but if you're eating honey, pure unprocessed honey, that's a natural byproduct, okay? It's not honey that's been pasteurized. It's not honey that's been processed. It's not honey. So it's a natural byproduct of what has been going on.
Okay, but if I can add, so if you think that chemicals are nature, then our body should be able to break it down, but our body cannot break down chemicals, right?
Well, it's a part of the evolutionary process. Just to play devil's advocate, some people will be able to adapt to these levels of toxins.
We haven't seen it. All we know about chemicals, and here's the thing, anytime they're studying chemicals in a lab on animals, they're isolating those chemicals. What they've never tested for is what happens when you unleash all of these different chemicals, whether it's in makeup, personal care products, food, or what someone has in their home, whether it's furniture or paint off gassing. What happens when you put all of these hundreds and hundreds of chemicals together and you do this low dose exposure year after year to the human organism? Most of these chemicals are either cancer causing, endocrine disruptors, neurotoxins, or all of them. And they mix together in the human body and they cause problems. And we know that they cause problems because we are the sickest we have ever been. That's how we know that it's whatever, it may have started out natural, but it sure ain't natural now because the body can't get rid of them, the body can't process them, and it makes us sick.
What about during the Black Plague, though? Were they pretty sick then too, right?
Yeah, but that was a different situation. They had one thing that was going on, right? Versus what we have right now, which is a form of chemical warfare against the human organism.
Look, Angelo, you know as well as I do, what at the core of all of this is money, right? This is all about economics. This is all about the wealthier getting wealthier and the poorer getting poorer. It's about those who can control and those who can be controlled. Okay, look at as some of you know, some of you may not know, I'm 65. Okay,
Wow, it
so
looks good.
I've been around for a while. So if you'd come to me when I was, I don't know, let's say 14, right, and said, you know what, I got a great idea. If we bottle water, we're gonna make a fucking fortune. Oh, excuse me, Facebook. We're gonna make a fortune, right? I would have said, you out of your mind? I can go to the tap and get water. I can go anywhere to anybody's house and get water. How am I gonna make money selling water? And look what happened.
Nestle.
Well, it was way before Nestle. Nestle just bought out the good ideas. Nestle's never come up with an idea of their own. They've just bought out other people, right? So this is the evolution that we have allowed to happen. Now we're living with it, and now we're at a place where, well, some of us think that has to change, right? Otherwise, we're going to be in a serious situation. Now, I can only say that if I was, and I'm not, so I can't say this emphatically, but if I was a dad and I had a young kid, I'd be concerned.
So, yeah, exactly. I agree with you completely. That's kind of why the lineage is, the buck stops here, So I want to just kind of, we're getting close to the top of the hour, and the talk today was about, the superfood super duo here, Michael and Julie, two of my favorites and great people. Tell us like some pointers on how do you make it together as a super duo like this, with like health, with business, with living with another human being in the same home. How do you do it? How do you get by? What's some of the struggles? Like, tell us, get real with us here. Let's
Some days I tell him to
we haven't done it.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
Some days I tell him to go back to bed because he's being cranky.
Like we're like anybody else. Like nobody's perfect, right? I mean, we have our moments, we have our stuff. It's about communication, and ultimately it's about, look, Angelo, you and I have had these discussions. Since we've known each other, it's ultimately about standing in your own integrity, standing in your own power, standing in a place of love, standing in a place of compassion, having some sort of moral compass about or some sort of belief system that, serves not only yourself, but also is of service to the people around you. So, we try to imbue that with the people on our team. Do we as a couple, are we in that place of nirvana all the time? No, of course not. Hey, we're a couple. I mean, anybody who's in a relationship, is going to tell you that everything's perfect all the time, I would run as far away from them as possible. It's just not like that, right?
So I'll share some stuff.
No,
Michael. We communicate, and sometimes when we are not communicating that well, we take a little time out, like you do. But most of the time we actually communicate really well. And we talk about what are some of the things that we want to have, what are the things in our life to each of us that's important. We both have our different passions and things that we're interested in. And so we do separately pursue those things, as well as come together for the business and supporting our team. And yeah, we just kind of keep our eye on the big picture.
I think the thing that works for us is this: is we have our times where we have our challenges, we have our times when things are difficult, we have our times when we don't agree with each other. And we're both Pisces, so we're both very similar in that sense, right? So I'm February 26th, Julie's February 28th.
Different decades.
Right? Yeah, different decades. But the thing that keeps us going is, no matter how difficult or how challenging or what argument or, turmoil we've got into, we always seem to be able to come back to the table and move on from there. And I'm a big believer in conflict resolution. It was one of the things that I actually taught in university. And I think people shy away from conflict. But if you actually approach somebody and you have two people willing to work through conflict, you will always end up being closer. So
we also have three dogs.
Conflict's not a nasty word. It's a really good word. It's a good word to move through. Yeah, we have 3 puppies. And
we're missing a puppy.
Like all of us, we're going through changes here every day. We're still going through changes. We're going through some big changes about where do we want to live, what do we want to do next, where we want to go. We've committed to coming down to Southern California for 3 months.
Beware, Angelo.
January, February, March. So
we're going to be in your midst.
So we'll be.
I have to go to North California.
So we'll be renting a house down there.
I'm in North Oregon, so you guys want to come up north? Come on.
We'll come up and we're going to come up and pick you up and take you back down.
Well, we'll figure it out. But it's also like what a magical time to live in, because I transitioned my business to the online space in November of 2019, before all this insanity started, and these are wonderful problems to have. Like, oh, where do we want to live? Where do we want to work from? What do we want to create? Like how lucky are we? Most of humanity does not have this problem to contend with. So this is a really important, I heard this recently, like just think that some of the things that you think are problems in your life, there are people in this world that wish they had your problems. Whether it's in business or relationship or anything in life. And so I think one of the practices besides meditation and yoga that have been very transformative in my life has been having a daily gratitude practice. That is hands down the best way you can change the wiring in your brain. And then also to come from a place of service, which is not how we're taught. We're taught to look out for number one, look over your shoulder. You don't know who's coming up behind you. But if you can come from a place of service, it makes your life so much more peaceful. If you can come from a place of gratitude, you'll be blessed with so many things that you'll run out of hours in the day to be grateful for all of those things.
I was listening to a little Earl Nightingale yesterday, and he was talking about most people all want happiness. And if your focus is only on happiness and attaining happiness for yourself, you'll never receive true happiness. It's about the process of going through service to others. That really, if you're living in a life of service and gratitude, then happiness will inevitably be in your life more often than if you're always striving for something that is just beyond your reach. But I want to wrap this up with each of you.
I want to say something.
No, too bad.
It's his call.
No, it isn't anymore.
Okay, so you can say what you want after this, but I want each of you to tell us your favorite. There'd be many things, obviously. What's your favorite thing about the other? What's the thing you love the most about the other person? Let's hear it. Come on.
Go.
Who's willing to go first? That means they love the most.
Julie's a person who has an unbelievable drive and commitment. Once she puts her mind to something, it's going to happen. She is unwavering in her pursuit of finding stuff. She believes in creating a better way. And most of you have no idea the challenges that she has faced in her life. So for her to be in the place that she is at this point in time is miraculous in itself.
And I would say that one of the things that I love about Michael is he is constantly learning, and in some things that he's chosen to learn or take on, he has like a bit of a childlike enthusiasm for it, which is nice, because I actually think that one of the things that keeps you young at heart is having an interest in things outside yourself and always being on that mode of learning new things and finding what you don't know. And I would say that that's probably one of the things that I find the most attractive, because I'm also like always in learning mode. I don't feel like I'm ever done. I'm always learning. So
ask any woman in my life, they'll tell you I'm 2.5.
Some days.
Pretty well, most of the time. Having said that, one of the things that is wonderful about being in this moment, and I don't know everybody on this call personally, but I do know people on this call personally, and people who I truly love, respect, and honor, and am so happy that we have developed a friendship. Veronica, Mallory, Angelo. I hope to have the same opportunity to meet the rest of you in a deeper way as I have these 3 individuals. Angelo is one of my most favorite people in the world. And there we go, So, and the message of all this is love. This is pretty well the answer for everything. And, and when you have the answer, it's what you do with it that counts.
Thank you. I love you guys, all of you.
Don't fake us out. Come on. Are you faking us out for the call now?
Okay. I love you, Michael. No, I love you all you guys on this call. Thank you for being here. This is always great to hear different perspectives on health. And health is not just about food and exercise. Health is about, like Julie said earlier, it's about what you surround yourself with, the people in your life, your attitude, your everything.
And laugh, smile, really laugh, enjoy. We all have things that we can laugh about. This has been a really difficult time, but there's always joy somewhere around the table, or something that can bring you joy, or something that can bring a real, just spark that heart, that sense of consciousness at you, smile, laugh, and enjoy.
All right. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm going to stop recording right now, but if you guys would
now I can say anything I want now.
Okay, you can start cussing. Go.
No, I'm only kidding.
Okay.